Amitofo. Hello to everyone. We start with a vow and the recitation of the four great vows. Vow. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Welcome to you all. I want to talk to you today revisiting the Six Paramitas, and there's never a definitive talk on the Six Paramitas because they the wisdom is infinite, and probing it is literally endless in terms of what we can derive from the Six Paramitas. The first times when we read the Six Paramitas, we see them as some kind of a standard or direction of conduct that we should follow, along with the 37 factors of enlightenment, the five precepts, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. But they're very incredibly profound, as well as the others. But this particular uh, uh, practice of the Six Paramitas is extremely special. So special that the great philosopher from the Madhyamaka school, Nagarjuna, made a book, an excellent book on the perfection of the six prajna paramitas. These paramitas, they represent like the highest of conduct. Oh, are you there? Sorry, that my screen lost for a moment. So they represented the highest of conduct, and but it's more than just conduct, as Nagarjuna begins to probe in. And this short lecture, I cannot really go into such great detail about that, but what I wanted to do is reach a point where you understand where all of this comes from, and how it can be used, because it's a precious array of six jewels or jewel tools that we use to guide our conduct here on earth. And I don't really say in that way to guide our lives as much as our representing and reflecting wisdom. And it is essentially something that works from the top down in terms of what's there. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I got here a little bit late to my house for this, but don't know if I still have it on my phone. Oh, oh, here it is. Hopefully I didn't lose it. Sorry, taking the time. It's a long article, but I wanted to read you something from um, the Dalai Lama. And if you have it there, Seth, I think I sent that to you. Oh, here it is. Um, and this was seen as, and I'll kind of read this part. It says, according to the perspective of Tibetan Buddhism, the practice accumulating paramitas is generally considered very important. In most contexts, they are seen as the fundamental basis for the practice of higher teachings, such as Vajrayana. The Dalai Lama said, to attain enlightenment, we need better rebirths, and the six perfections in particular, far-reaching ethical self-discipline, enable us to attain better rebirth. We won't be able to help others materially if we aren't wealthy, and so we need to cultivate generosity. We need virtuous friends, and we must reject anger and practice patience. In order to accomplish this, we need perseverance. To gain friends, we must control our disturbing emotions so that we must practice mentally consistency, which is concentration. And finally, we need to be effective in helping others. In helping others, we need the discriminating awareness of wisdom and of what is of the harm. Therefore, we need to cultivate all of them. And he continued, the Hinayana path, this would be the Theravadan path, is the preliminary path. The Mahayana Sutra, one is the main path. And the Tantra is something to train in only as a branch. The four tenet systems are like stairs. So the higher systems highlight contradictions of the lower ones. So he's talking about the difference between from the Theravadan to the Mahayana practice, and he's talking about these stairs that they use, and these are the stairs I referenced quite a bit, in a way in which saying that one is trying to build a stairway to heaven to be able to get up. And he's saying that those are like stairs, but the higher systems highlight the contradiction, saying they go directly. So no, Sariputra, form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. So it's contradicting what was written before and established as, let's say at that point, the Buddhist gospel. We can appreciate the profundity of the higher, the profoundness of it. The higher systems are vast and profound since they do not contradict logic. And this is very, very important. The more that you practice Buddhism, the more that you have to become a philosopher as well. It isn't just simply a faith system that you rely on and just say, well, that's the gospel, that's what it is, it has to be true. You have to be able to hold it up to the light and see if there's any flaws or defects in it. This is what was happening at the turn of the millennium in 0 CE. There was challenges being brought, and even before then, even in Nalanda University, in terms of putting up Abhidharma, Madhyamaka, Yogacara schools, and them debating, countering each other, looking at things to see, can they really hold up? And in one of those early challenges, the Yogacara, they realized they had to develop actually the Alaya Vijnana, because their system wasn't complete. This was in the proto Yogacara. They had to have this, and that mirrored the Tathagata Garbha of let's say the mainstream of Mahayana at that point. And so it has to hold up. You have to look at it and say, does this make sense? And so the more you study, the more you become adept at listening to the arguments that were presented by the philosophers in the first millennium CE. And you see these wonderful exchanges and looking at things. And then you begin to become adept as well to take a look at things and say, yes, does this make sense or does this not make sense? The more that one does that, as Nagarjuna did, the more he was able to formulate the middle way in a way in which it really makes sense. But it didn't make sense necessarily to scholars. The scholars really didn't understand what key he was playing in, and many of them just thought he was pointing towards some nihilistic emptiness because they couldn't fathom the fact that there was something outside this bubble in a stream that we call apparent reality. And he was playing a totally different tune, which was absolute reality. And so when we look at these things, we see it and we understand this is our practice, and little by little we become adept at it. I don't presuppose that all of you are going to become, postdoctorate scholars in Buddhism, but when you have a working knowledge of it, it really helps you a lot into the historicity of if things really have a validity in terms of certain events, or do they have a philosophical base that cannot be undermined. So as you begin to see this, then you see that, and then you begin to see how these schools fit together. And lo and behold, you see them appearing in the sutras, and you can recognize them in the sutras as they're being presented. And again, I've said many times, which is true, many times on the same page, you'll find Yogacara along with the Madhyamaka school, and sometimes Abhidharma that's there as well. So this is what we're doing. But when we're looking at this is what the Dalai Lama is saying here, is that you're beginning to look at it in a more critical way of seeing what's there. But it isn't a debate. It's not a game. It's not I won, you lose. It is that this matter of life and death, of saying, how do we present this in a way that we can get more friends? So he's talking about friends, but what he's doing is he's talking about, as you are my friends. And as you are listening to me, how do you get more friends? And so if each of you got 50 more friends and 50 more and 50 more, then it'll grow in geometrical proportions. But it is in this way, this is his vision in terms of what we do in terms of studying. We're not just looking for one Dharma heir. We're looking for trying to have this all figured out and presented to the next group so that they have a faith, not based on a blind faith, but a faith that's based on a solid philosophical system that can be produced and can be defended in its way. So this is where these six paramitas come in. So then he's saying, let me go back, because it says the higher systems highlight contradictions in the lower ones, but by knowing the lower, we can appreciate the profoundness of the higher. So we don't push aside the agamas, for instance, or the Nikayas from the Theravadins. We study that too. But when we study it and then we hold it in comparison to the Mahayana, we can appreciate that there was a demonstrable turning of the Dharma wheel in terms of the practice of the understanding, the philosophy of the faith. One of my senior students was giving a class in faith in Mahayana, and it was that turning of the Dharma wheel that got this all kind of going. This faith in Mahayana is not, at that point, was not Mahayana school, but faith in mind. And so it's this faith in mind, but it cannot just be on just trust me in that way. Sometimes I'll tell you to trust me, but I'll present the reasons why you should trust me. And it's not necessarily that it's just that you haven't quite seen it yet. And one of my senior students um, sent me a text today and said that she was now really able to penetrate the sutras. She was able to see it and in a much profound way. And I said, yes, now it's coming. You have to see and and trust yourself, trust the 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 faith in the Dharma. Trust me, have faith in me that it'll happen because I told you it was going to happen. And it did happen to her, where she was able to have these sutras appear almost like a hologram, where you could clearly penetrate through. She knew the difference between that. So as one works on that and can penetrate the sutras, you know in your heart there's something else happening at a much higher level in terms of. Then when you look back to the lower systems, then you understand them and you go, they're good in their ways, but this part is good. Even if Mahayana, we're studying a lower level of a Mahayana, to study a higher level of the Mahayana is still better. You have to put in your dues to be able to get there, but it will work. You have to have faith. It will work. It'll work on the cushion. It'll work on in your everyday life. And the Dalai Lama here is explaining something very profound in a very simple way. So his words belie how profound what he's talking about, because he's talking in the esoteric, the vision of what we want to do here in this world. If we are aware of the other areas in which we make mistakes, it helps us to stay on the right path and have confidence in it. Thus, the study of the tenet systems gives stability to our view. Then, on the basis of the 6 far-reaching attitudes and bodhicitta, we're able to fulfill our own aims and those of others. And then there is another Rinpoche, Traleg Kayab Gong. I don't know if you know him, Santa. So I'm kind of butchering his name, Cyabgon. Anybody who is fluent in Tibetan, you can tell me what it means or how to pronounce it. There you go. But in any case, this Rinpoche, he says, when we say that paramita means transcendent action, we mean it in the sense that the actions or attitudes are performed in a non-egocentric manner. Transcendental does not refer to some external activity, external reality, but rather to the way in which we conduct our lives and perceive the world. In either an egocentric or non-egocentric way, the 6 paramitas are concerned with the effort to step out of this egocentric mentality. So this is something that Chan always talks about, where we say that self-love, self-conceit, egocentric, all of these things we attach to. The 6 paramitas, they are not attaching to the ego. It's very important when you understand this. You can use them as a stepping stone or stairway up, but it's better to use them in the right way from the very beginning when you understand what they are, because what they represent is a transcendental wisdom. I rarely use the word transcendental because it can be really misunderstood very quickly. We go, oh, I'm going to be transcendental, and I'll sit on a big giant puffy cushion and grow a beard or whatever. I'm going to do that. And we have this idea of transcending everything, like we're go ahead and take that cushion and we're going to float away. It isn't in that way. You're running directly into reality. Every single moment you are running into reality, but it's the real reality, the reality of wisdom and how things work. So the mind work isn't just simply something to try to, for you to commune with the Buddha. It's for you to express and demonstrate in this world, just like the Dalai Lama said, you're looking for others. When you say to make friends, it means that there are people that believe in what you're saying and they're friendly towards it. And so they cultivate it. Not only do they cultivate it, but they bring other friends to it. But we understand that this kind of a practice is more of um, a hive, like a beehive function, than one of an individual person. Nobody really wants to be a leader. In my trip to Australia, I met a very wonderful Rinpoche. He was so humble, and what is the term that they use? Toku or something for? Is that the word? For someone that's an emanation of a previous in a previous life was a Rinpoche or a Lama, and and he was almost embarrassed to say that to me because I was there as a Chan Buddhist, and I was going, "It's fine." I said, by the virtue of the fact that you are very humble about that, it represents that you truly are. Because if you were there and you say, well, I'm, the grand whatever, uh, then I would have less of a respect to somebody that demonstrates this incredible humility, but still, nevertheless, doesn't lead because you want to be a leader, but lead because people push you up and say, speak, say this, represent us. We need this guy. But as all guides, all masters, all teachers, everyone, as you become a teacher, and some of you are already teachers, you kind of wonder, and you should, am I getting this right? Am I teaching the right thing? You have to always have that. You can't just simply pontificate about things, but you have to always have that. Can this be better? Again, these are representing the paramitas in a very deeper way than what we normally see. I go to these two Tibetan masters simply because they what they say is very natural and very easy. And when we are practicing and demonstrating this, there was a part in which I was teaching this weekend about Dao Shin. And Dao Shin was just saying that we just simply have to harmonize in the natural rhythm of things. This is an incredible statement, to harmonize with the natural rhythm of things, because you could take it to mean many different things. But in order to know the natural rhythm of things, then we have to know from where those things come from. And what is this rhythm? What is that? And it is this um, beyond words, this transcendence. We don't have to call it transcendence as we begin to practice this way, but little by little, it will make its own transcendence as one begins to reflect these six paramitas. So when we look at the six paramitas, let me go back all the way up to the 40 pages above. And these are perfections of what we call in this And the perfection to me is to have something without a flaw. Um, as they always use it in the sutras, like a diamond, that it's a flawless diamond. But when we understand this, then we begin to understand that this is something that um, makes sense. Um, so the from the Mahayana texts, the list of perfections, the first one is generosity. Generosity is very important to us because it is one that we no longer think about keeping something for ourselves, but we want to give to someone else. And to some people, this is not an easy thing to do. They can give gifts to this person and give gifts to that person, but sometimes they can't really have a generosity to a stranger. And but it's something that as one begins to practice in the natural rhythm of things, they are no longer a stranger, but a friend or a proto friend, a friend to be, and that they will be in this way. And so when we see it, I don't know if I told this story or not, but when I was in Singapore, in the hotel I was staying at, there was an elderly worker there that was in charge of the dining room, and he was very efficient of what he did, and he was always smiling, 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 and um, he I just kept watching him and watching him. And in the evening, I went down for a quick bite late at night, and he was still there. And I go, my gosh, don't you ever go home? And the man, he just smiled at me, and he says, yes, I will go home in a while. He said he had been, imagine this, he had been working for 55 years at the same job. Never, and it was his only job he ever had. It was his only job that he needed. And he says, I love to help people. I love to make them feel comfortable. I like to service them in whatever way I can. And I'm happy. And when I go home, I feel happy. And after I finish my meal, I call for one of the waitresses to if he could come to talk to me. And I um, I brought him over, and actually, this isn't really about me, it's about him. But I brought him over to the table and I said, you know, I go all over the world right now to teach what you've already know. You really know this, and to how to be. I've observed you. No, your practice is very good. His perfection of his practice was amazing. And I said, I'm going to give you um, a sizable. I just said this is for you, which was a large amount of money. Is much more than one would normally give um, uh, um, for a tip. Uh, but I wanted him to remember that. I wanted him to remember that I gave him a tip, and the reason I gave him the tip, not just because he served me well, but I wanted him to tell people why I gave him the tip. Why that? Because of his skill set and the way he lived his life was admirable, and it was something that people should follow. So that if people hear that, they're more likely to be giving. His generosity was very amazing in terms of that. It's very rare to find people like him. They're truly a bodhisattva. You know, without knowing that they're a bodhisattva, the best kind perhaps. And so this is generosity when we do things for others that it's not called upon us to do that, but we do it for to because if we don't do it, then who will? So it's very important for us that we understand this in terms of how we practice, that we want to give, because the more that we give, the less we identify with an ego or something. It's not like, here, I give you this pen. Oh, thank you. Well, give it to me. Well, but I don't really want to give it to you. Oh, then take it back. Okay, you insist. It's not that kind of generosity, or it's not the one here. Here's a golden pen. Oh, thank you. I'll write that down as a write-off, tax write-off. That's not generosity. I think that Nagarjuna talked about this as a second class of generosity. The true generosity is a reflection of the bodhicitta. All of these are reflections of bodhicitta that we're doing. So in what we do following these paramitas, we're reflecting this kind of this wonderful heart that we have. The next one is what they call ethical discipline. Sometimes I identify it in 3 words: ethics, morality, and discipline. It isn't just simply a discipline where you're ordering your body to do things in that way. It isn't this kind of discipline. If you try to discipline yourself in this way, this is lower level practice, because you're trying to make Gilbert do that. Why do you need to do it? Because people are watching you, or that you have to say that you do this or whatever. That's the lowest level of this this paramita. The ethics, it too is in this way, because it's like saying we need to be ethical, rather than say, why not? In that way, this idea of ethical morality or discipline is transparent. It's truly transparent. It's not there. The mind is simply reflecting what should be there through body, speech, and mind. So if we try to kind of like whip ourselves into it, we're not doing it in a transparent or a transcendent way. We have to go from the top, reach up. We're not playing like we're a Buddha. We're not playing like we're a Bodhisattva. We're perfecting this practice, but it's different. We're perfecting the practice that we know, but we feel that this is transparent. It should always be present. It's not something that comes in and says, remember to salute when the Buddha goes by. You don't do that. No. If the Buddha goes by, you would naturally just bow your head. You don't have to think about it. Your heart would do it. You see the difference in how we use these. So it's not this ethical or morality or discipline, because I kept thinking about this, and I've been listening to a lot of commentaries on this, and no one really kind of got that part right. But to me, I think it's something that goes much deeper than just listing them in that way. The third one is patience. This is one that I've really recently worked on more and cultivated more. It's kind of, I'm going, let me work on wisdom, because wisdom's wisdom, But patience is a little bit more ethereal in some ways, and to do that. And I was hearing somebody talking about, this was from a Theravadan way of where they say, patience can also be like if somebody slaps you, to stop them from slapping you, because if you stop them from slapping you, then ceasing their conduct in the future that could be bad conduct. But this really minimizes the essence of true patience. It's going to individualize conduct rather than the patience of a true mother. And in this way, I could say, yes, that applies with a mother that has a kid that is out of control and disciplining them so that they can maintain control, and but it's something that it's more than that. There's a patience with everything in the world. Some of you have already in your lives have to take care of elderly people, right? And that requires a lot of patience, a tremendous amount of patience. Or people that are around you that move slower than you, don't understand as much as you. Their minds don't work as fast, and as you get older, your mind can also move a lot slower, or you make mistakes in judgment. Patience in all the things that we see, in everything there to see in due time, this plant will grow. Before it was a little thing like that. Now it's taking over the house. But we don't make it a big plant right away. In due time, it's there, and there's a patience. This patience is important because, for instance, if one is making a bonsai, a Japanese tree, when you're making the bonsai, you have to see it 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 minutes from now when you're first clipping it. But later you see it and you understand that, this is coming into being. It's going to be this way. But you need the patience to be able to really see it and cultivate it and bring it about to where it has to be. It is this patience that I have with each and every one of you, that I have patience. I don't go to you and go, well, I've been reviewing your record here and you've been with me for 10 years and you haven't gotten it, so you might as well just leave. It's not that way. Even the Chinese say great talent arises later. I see the talent, each and every one of you, and there's a patience there in terms of that. It was very funny because when I was at the retreat afterwards, one of my students was saying, "Wow, you really learned a lot in like the last 10 years," and I just kind of laughed about that. I won't go further into it, but I was just laughing about that because who is learning? But I have patience with him because I want to bring him along too, and so sometimes I have to be careful, but I have a very quick wit, and so I have to be patient not to harm people, be aware of that. And so there's so many ways that we use patience in whatever we do. So we can deal with it. If we're suffering, if you broke your arm, you got a broken arm, it may be a shoulder, it's going to be like this for a while. And you have to have the patience to be able to know that after a while, the cast will come off and you'll be able to move your arm around again. But in that time period, it seems like you're in a prison sentence. But it's a sentence of your own because you're holding on to suffering. Using the paramitas, we let go of those things that we call suffering. We let go of those things that we call ego, which appears to produce the suffering there and creating it and thinking that this is real in its way. But when we sincerely practice the paramitas, we see everything as it is and we have patience in due time. What about the Bodhisattva that took 5 kalpas to become a Buddha? My goodness, Can you do that? But it is these things where we look at and we understand it. Yet in another sutra, it said one bodhisattva blinked his eyes and 5 kalpas passed. So we begin to measure things not from the measurements of this world, from the thermometer, or the climate or whatever, time. We don't measure things in this way. We are the present moment. The Buddha is in the present moment. Our mind is not other than the present moment. We're not different from the Buddha mind. There's nothing separate from it. It is hard for us to understand that when we are suffering. And Dao Shen actually was asked that question. How come if we're the same as the Buddhas are over there kicking back in their Sambhogakaya body, their reward body, bliss body, and we're here suffering on earth? And Dao Shen was very clear about it. He just said, because you have not seen through. You have not seen through the idea. You still are clinging to a life of being, ego, a personality. But when you don't, then the time and the place is the same. It is why Master Sheng said we create a pure land here on earth. We create it, and it's here already. But if you look around and say, I don't see it, then you will never see it, but you can feel it and you can believe it. And later on, you will be able to see it. And it isn't that you have to have a perfect place, or look outside and your driveway is jewel encrusted, or there's a golden pond or whatever. It isn't in this way. You should not seek it in those kinds of ways. You should seek it here in this moment. And that was what the message was of the Buddha to Sariputra. The next one is virya, or the right effort. This is very, very important, extremely important, because in order for us to do anything, we have to have this right effort to do it. It's not just effort, but it is this right effort. So sometimes, I don't know if you've ever done anything where you're trying to tighten something up, and then you go, well, I'll really tighten it, and then you break it. You didn't use the right effort to do that. You didn't realize, hey, that's made out of plastic, not metal. And so you mess it up. So we have to be aware that this is a very mundane example of that. But when we present the Dharma to people, I use the right effort to present the Dharma. And those who have been communicating with me and private messaging and whatever, and I'm telling you things, it's the right effort for you. In that moment, that applies to you alone. And so when I'm speaking to you, I really am just speaking to you. I'm not looking in the book and going like, this person has a problem, and what should I say to them? Oh, go this way, call them here, and just relax. It isn't in that way. It's customized to them. This is how you make friends. I'm calling you guys friends instead of my children today. So it's how you make the friends, because they trust you, because the right effort oftentimes is no effort at all other than listening. So the right effort can be listening. The right effort of where you're at and the moment to just listen. Listen to the person, what they're saying. Listen to the problem that they say. No, in everything, this right effort is much deeper, more profound, because all of these, as we're getting towards them, and the last two more, they're all intertwined. They're inseparable. They're the perfection of Anyatara Samyak Sambodhi. All of these are just little spokes off of that. Meditation is important, but meditation sometimes is a misnomer because people think meditation is only sitting on a cushion. If you can get it with that way, then you could put a meter on there, a latent meter. So how long have you crossed your legs? Only 20 more years to go. And then you'll become enlightened. It isn't in this way. Meditation is calming the mind, resting the mind. Meditation is just simply an avenue in which we have very little to do but to hold on to the method. But it is not us that holds the method, it is mind. So with this understanding, this is when we get to the next one, wisdom, we understand we are not on the cushion. We're in the bubble, the dream bubble. This dream bubble that is projected in the Dharmakaya. We are not sitting. It is mind that sits and rests. So this is the right meditation. When you practice in this way, then the meditation will be very fruitful and accelerated. If you practice the stepstone way, you will get there to the point where you say, I don't see Gilbert anymore. Boom, voila, you could have started with that. And so practicing in this way, you see that this meditation, there's no going somewhere or coming in of something or anything or the idea even of the word transcendence. Why I don't use the word too often is because people think that all of a sudden they're just a common person. And the next moment, they have gold robes and a big aura around them like that. We shouldn't think in these ways because it's dualistic thinking. It's you sitting there going, when am I going to become a Buddha? And don't tell me you haven't thought about am I enlightened? When am I going to get to enlightenment? No, it's like me when I was like 4 years old and traveling from where I'm at now to San Diego, which took like about 3.5 hours or longer than that because they didn't have a freeway, then maybe 4.5 hours, sitting on the back of an old station wagon and just going, are we there yet? Are we there? No, don't do that. Don't do that. You don't have to worry about coming or going. What's so funny about resting? Why don't you just rest when you're there? What is resting? Mind is resting, not you. It's like you're the mother, right? And who are you resting from? The ego. Your little kid that's banging on there. Mommy, what's going on? Mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy, can you put my shoes on? Forget about that. That's illusion. But in that moment, you're just resting the mind. You see the things as they are. You see that when you get up off of that cushion, yeah, you're going to have to take care of the things that are around you, but you're better equipped to do it because you've rested, not slept. There's a difference. Resting is bringing everything down. So at any moment, right now, I'm resting from driving. Later, I'll be resting from lecturing. But this is how your meditation should go. And again, I'm kind of running through this like a real fast parade again. But it's no, I don't have the luxury of teaching you for 20 years. Some of you have been with me longer than that, so you probably teach me. And the last one is wisdom, prajna. And prajna, um, there's a couple of types of wisdom. One wisdom is a wisdom that comes from learning things. And if I save a penny, after 10 years, I'll have about maybe $100. Well, that's not very satisfying. Well, you better increase it then. But that's the wisdom of saying, I should have uh, uh, put more in the bank. But the thing is that there's that kind of an everyday wisdom. Don't put your finger in a light socket. I learned that one in elementary school. When I wasn't even in elementary school, I was a little kid, like 4 years old, and they let me play on the stage at an elementary, and I went and I stuck my finger in. Wow, I really got enlightened, but not in a good way. I to this day wonder how I didn't die, how I wasn't electrocuted, because it went like like that, and my finger was like twitching. But the wisdom was I'm never going to do that again. So this is kind of a gnosis wisdom, but there's a wisdom there that lets you see things. And it's a deep wisdom. What they call this transcendent wisdom is not other than abiding by the paramitas. The paramitas don't necessarily abide in each and every one of them. They abide collectively as one demonstrates them. That's the difference between following them, like strict following them, like you're making a primer of things, versus this demonstration. In the beginning, you're going to be really bad at it, okay? But as you go along, little by little, you get better at it. You get more adept at doing this, and so you just have to have patience, and you have to have the energy to keep practicing. You see how all of these they're so intertwined. As you begin to talk about one, they all come. The wisdom comes from the practice, not just necessarily crossing your legs, but serious practice and cultivation of Dharma. And in that way, in this transcendence, there will be realizations that come simply because the ego is no longer present. When the ego is no longer present, the mind is self-revealing. You don't have to try to demand that you know the answer to it. That may work with a Huato simply blocking out thought. But if you really understand how it works, then it comes faster. But it comes from this demonstration. And you have to begin to feel the subtlety between acting in a certain way that you think should be, I'm acting charitable, or when it just comes spontaneous to you. When it comes spontaneous to you and you go, why not? That's what I do. The thing with the waiter, with him, I didn't give it a second thought. Right away, I understood this was something very valuable, and the money really meant nothing in comparison to what I set into motion in this gentleman's life and his family and his co-workers. So So the thing is that we don't see things from in generosity as a money thing. That's probably the worst thing. And again, I'm not saying that I was generous and giving him money. It was the generous in paying attention to him and starting something to go. No, you have to be generous most importantly with your time when you volunteer for things. This is very, very incredible. Or when you help somebody out that needs help, you don't think, well, what is it? You know, how are you going to um, get out of it? And that's probably the worst thing. I don't know if you've ever encountered people that are very, how would you say? I don't know there's a word for it, but it's just they're disingenuous in their affection towards you because they want to get something out of you. And so it isn't in this way. It is in the natural rhythm of things that one does it because if not you, who? And that's the whole point. And then you have this perfectly good body. Well, it is, what do they call it? Um, the car commercials for Mercedes, you know, like gently used or whatever. But most of you are kind of already crashed up cars. But still, you have miles on you. You know, you can keep going, and you have some value of this body. This body's precious. This mouth is precious. This mind is precious because there's the heart. It is the heart of all of this perfection of wisdom that produces out of all of that this karuna and mahakaruna, a caring for everyone. It's not just simply for your loved ones, but everyone is in that category that can benefit. And this is how we see it. So I really love what the Dalai Lama said because it is in this way to make this geometrical progression that will eventually um, touch everyone, all sentient beings here. This is the six paramitas. This is how one should practice the six paramitas, be the six paramitas. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. I'll take questions. Amitopo. No questions? Okay, so this was too low for you guys. It didn't stimulate you. Of course, Sam, the icebreaker.
Amitofo Gilbert, thank you for your lecture. Thank you. Um, I wanted to just really point out how I've always appreciated in the Paramitas discussions and lectures you give, how the Paramitas seem to be presented when you talk about it's a demonstration, not it's not like it's not so much a cultivation as it is a demonstration, because these are the inherent traits or expressions of mind, like wisdom and generosity and um, all the different paramitas. And earlier in the lecture, you were talking about how this is like a top-down perspective, and I just wanted to point out how that's always been such a useful and wonderful teaching of the paramitas. Seeing it as you've already, or not you, but mind already has it, and it just needs to be demonstrated in harmony with causes and conditions. And it's not something that needs to be cultivated. It's not something that's like going to be improved upon or gained or things like this. That it's already there, it's already functioning. It just needs to be demonstrated correctly, and I mean, with causes and conditions and in harmony with those conditions. So I just always wanted to thank you for how clear that teaching is, and just how it's such a mind blowing perspective.
Thank you for that, because it is what is reflected in the Heart Sutra when it talks about there is no wisdom. And you go, well, wait a minute, isn't this a perfection of wisdom? And these six paramitas reflect this highest perfection of wisdom, but it is also representing the highest perfection of wisdom is that there's no uh, personality, ego, life, or being that's there. But nevertheless, this compassion runs in a whole different way than what we perceive compassion to be. But the thing is, Sam, if you apply it moment to moment, it works so much better than just regular, uh, off the shelf wisdom. It works much, much better because it is so incredibly clear that it sees through them. That's why I was talking about, and it was hard for me to explain this, that they become transparent. And so as they become transparent, then there is an appearance of a transcendence, but it's not an appearance like the appearance of apparent reality and absolute reality. It is just the gnosis, the mind knowing that this is mind, and this is how the mind functions. What's the function of the mind from the Heart Sutra? Compassion. And it's a different kind of compassion. So thank you for that, because there's something that we need to emphasize this, but also that I know you've been practicing for a while, but you've been practicing it with me for how many years now?
I want to say I started attending your lectures November 2022. So
Okay,
3 years or so.
3 years, and you're getting towards the marrow in terms of understanding this, the bone marrow, and that's good, because you simply listen, and you process it, and you cultivate it, and that's what makes the difference. So that's why I tell people, be patient, but use the right effort, and you're a perfect example of that. So that's good.
I'm beyond fortunate to have my I feel sometimes like a little kid having his hand held kind of led through the door. So thank you for always being such a great teacher.
Renee.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you. So I feel that his teaching was very profound, and I'm deeply moved. So many times we misunderstand the practice just as being only about our own liberation, but it's not like that. So we cannot separate ourselves with all social sentient beings. We cannot separate. So yeah, I'm so moved, deeply moved today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It is her demonstration of feeling the esoteric. And so this is good. It's good signs for you, to be this way. As long as one's not too, how would you say, sentimental about it. There's nothing wrong with when you're hearing something like this that is profound, and it goes to your heart to feel like crying because it's so precious. If it wasn't precious, I wouldn't be spending my time doing this. I would be on YouTube telling you guys how to make donuts. More importantly, how to eat donuts, but I won't do that. Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Nobody? This was all clear to you? Any comments? Go ahead.
Master Gilbert, thank you so much for sharing. I've lived in Singapore for 43 years, where perfection, being the best and being the fastest, is of utmost importance. But for the past 3 years, I had the pleasure or the experience of living with elderly people, First with my father, who passed away 2 years ago, and now with my mother. I am really learning how to be patient. My effort right now is to breathe deeply, no self, silence. But sometimes there's a huge conflict in my body. And I'm really, really glad to meet you 1st of August or 2nd of August in Singapore. I'm really, really new to Buddhism or Chan Buddhism for that matter. And I'm just wondering whether is there any easier, painful shortcuts to learn patience?
Yeah, I think what would be good for you, and um, I'm glad you got the message. That was for you. The lecture, that part of it. Um, it is just see your mother as a Buddha or Guan Yin and take care of her like that. Just take care of her like you're taking care of Guan Yin. No. And and love her as you would love Guan Yin and what Guan Yin stands for. No. The wisdom is the mother of everyone. That's why I say I'm the mother of all of you in terms of transmitting the wisdom to you. And so when you see that you're losing it or getting impatient or have no patience, then just see the people that are there as bodhisattvas or Buddhas, and it will help you. And you'll remember, we don't take other people's faults and amplify them and turn them around towards them. We have to endure in this way. In some ways we do that. Of course, if someone's in an abusive relationship, they don't have to endure that. But we don't have to. If somebody strikes us, then to strike them back. It isn't in that way either. We find the way to harmonize with people. With striking somebody back never really solves the problem. It may stop the problem, especially if you're slapping harder than the other person, but that remains for the next lifetime. Like you're carrying a tally of all the people that you want to get even with, and a tally of all the people that want to get even with you. Can you imagine carrying all of this into your next lifetime? But this is wisdom to see things in this way, that you actually are carrying these tallies, right? You would hope that you have more people that you've helped and care for you than the people that you have to step up and get slapped again because you slapped them. So this is wisdom. Just think about it in this way. And when you see it and you say, what do I want to create in my next lifetime? What is the environment that I want to create? And so you see it in that way. But it's good. I mean, what you felt right now, this is genuine. This is our practice. Whether one is a very experienced practitioner or somebody that's just new to the Dharma, you're not new to the Dharma. You've been around the Dharma many lifetimes, but now you're waking it up. This is the first time that you've been so close. Okay, a lot of times when I tell people in a retreat, you've never been closer than now to it, and you in this class here, you've never been closer to it. Treasure it, but treat it like jewels that you pass to other people. Find the way to do it. Again, you don't have to knock on people's door and go, Buddha loves you. You don't hand out a pamphlet. We don't do it that way, but we still demonstrate. We demonstrate the way to liberation and peace here. Okay, and you can certainly do that. It won't cost you anything. Sometimes our road is very difficult, especially with elderly people. And that comes right now. I'm actually dealing with my one of my dogs that is very elderly, and I literally have to carry her around. And but being a Buddhist, I can't put her to sleep, and so it's difficult sometimes. I know you're not. I can't equate it with your mom because don't think in that way. But the thing is that you have to demonstrate this great patience, and it will pay off. With it. Okay. Uh, Edel,
Hi, Gilbert.
did I get your name right?
Deal.
Ideal.
Ideal.
Okay. Now I remember. I have to say, oh, you're the one that's ideal. Okay. Go
Not
ahead.
that I. So the question actually you brought to my mind when you mentioned about the slapping example. What if I feel like I'm the one who is being slapped?
Who what?
What if I feel like I'm the one who is being slapped?
Then if you feel that way, um, I talk about patience, it's not the same as the Christians turning the other cheek. Um, if uh, if somebody harms you, you can let them know that they harmed you and that you don't like that. And you can set limits. In this world, you're not coming in here to be a punching bag. So if you're in a situation, let's say it's mentally slapping or physically slapping or whatever it is, we don't have to go into it. But if you feel like you're being slapped, then you have to talk to the people and set the boundaries in which you're going to be with that person, whatever the person is, whether it's a boss or a co-worker or a husband, or whatever, family member. Then if you feel that, then you just let them know and then give yourself space. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to go free hits and do it that way. So sometimes, in that way, the Theravada, that one master was correct, that you don't have to get hit a second time. But it doesn't mean that you turn around and hit them. It just means that you go for a change of scenery until the person realizes the weight of or the consequences of what they've done. But you don't let them, bounce you around. Okay. If it was something very serious, probably one of the hardest things, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, uh, women can get into a battered wife syndrome. I've even seen men that are in battered husband syndromes where they're just being really emotionally beat and physically actually be beat too. And they have to go seek counseling because that turns into a sickness that they think that can be something, but that applies for anything. So if if the environment is unhealthy like that, then you have to change your environment. It's not something, if it's petty or just happens, but if it's a constant thing, then it's a lot harder. I'm a little different than Master Shen. Master Shen said, that's great news because then you have a petty tyrant that reminds you to practice every day. But if it turns into something serious, no, you don't. You don't. Uh, uh, you're not going to, or you don't have to stay in that environment, or you can put some space until it changes. Okay.
I think it is someone that I can put space in between. I mean, it's not like I have to put up with this person every day, every second, but it's a family member, so I cannot avoid facing this person. And I was actually putting more thought into, if I see this this in him, slapping me with his putting pressure in our conversations in public, and it's becoming more and more difficult to bear. I was more into looking into whether I see something about myself in him, but it didn't take me anywhere, and I just felt more and more helpless.
No, the thing, when it's happening in public, then what you can do is you can show it up and say in public, well, that was kind of a rather rude thing or not a nice thing to say. Why would you say that? You know? And then they say something more insulting. Say again, that's something very insulting. Why do you want to be that way? I don't wish any ill will towards you. And so when you're in public, the people, when they're bullying like that, they are counting on the crowd for support for bullying. But when you understand that, then you shine the light on him and his cruelty. You don't lose it. You don't start calling him names. You don't start doing anything. You're just saying, okay, this conversation's over. Hopefully in the future you'll learn how to communicate with people without being insultive or whatever. Blah blah blah. Okay, and do it that way, and that way you gain control, and you don't give him an arena to perform in. Matter of fact, he's doing is just showing his own weaknesses by you highlighting what he's saying. That's something that if somebody asks you, let's say, a personal question, and you can just say to a person, like, that's a personal question. Why do you want to know that?
Yeah.
And has nothing to do with them. Why should somebody know anything like that? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
If not, then you can check with me, later, and I'll help you out some more. Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, no problem. Robert.
Amitabha, Gilbert. Thank you very much for this lecture. Today I have a pretty interesting event. Prior to coming to this Zoom, I was in another Zoom meeting, which is a study group, and one of the participants clearly is who wants to learn about Chan, but have a lot of anxiety and doubt and maybe nervousness and a lot of expectations. It's like her mind is just racing, and other fellow participant in the study group was trying to help her to calm her down. But nobody was able to kind of get her to calm down because her mind kept racing ahead. And I was watching and observing this, and I feel pretty sad. But I felt that I just felt I'm not sure what this is called, compassion. It's like she needs some help, or she needs some guidance, and I wish I'm able to help her to have a better understanding of how to get started in meditation, how to get started in a sitting, how to get started in a proper view of mind. So the students, the other participants say, "Hey, Robert, we can't explain very well. Can you help us a little bit?" And I say, "Oh, I'll give a try." So at that moment, almost is this little parrot. It's like the parrot just kind of almost like the compassion of wanting to help this lady who clearly want to learn but have a lot of doubt about Chan and sitting and meditation. Because I don't know what to say. This Robert really doesn't know. But I think at that moment, everything, Gilbert, you mentioned, you taught, you led us to practice. I just almost like just open my mouth and let Gilbert do the talking, or let the parrot do the talking, and in the next maybe 5 minutes, through my dialogue with this lady, she calmed down. She answered. She echoed some of my question or my comments. Surprisingly, she doesn't have any confidence in the beginning, but after my dialogue with her, she has much more confidence to take the first step, to go to the first Chan. She wants to go and sign up for a Chan 1 day session a few times to kind of test the water. It's as if she has a lot of barrier in her past life, but I notice it, I sense it. But after the dialogue with her, seems like I'm able to, through the exchange, she feel more comfortable tiptoeing her feet into the Chan world, into the Chan so-called environment, and she felt more comfortable and looking forward to a sitting, to a meditation. All these are conducted in Chinese. It's some in Cantonese, some in Mandarin. It's a hybrid. But it wasn't Robert that is talking at that time. It's just the session went very, very unusual. It's almost like Gilbert is doing all the talking between 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. But I feel at the end of it, I feel very happy that she's no more, doesn't have the anxiety. She feel very, very at ease, and her mind seems much more calmer, more settled, more less rising. She was literally bubbling with turmoil, but she wanted to get into Chan, but she's so nervous about it. She always want to answer. She always want to see specific result by specific time, and what do I need to do specifically. But if at the end of it, she say, "Oh, okay, I look forward to it." She say, she look for it. She'll sign up for it. So that is an amazing session this afternoon. So thank you for all the teaching over the last 8 years, and at least I'm able to let one person closer to the Chan door, coming closer. I believe he will take his first class. So I'm very glad.
You should be teaching in San Francisco, and just teach what you know. And your voice is very calming, which helps her. And generally, when you have someone like that, you can just say, "Do you want to feel what Chan feels like?" And then you just tell them, "Just close your eyes, relax, take a big inhale, let it out, quiet, go through relaxing all your body." And take them through a little mini meditation to calm their organs so that they're not so angry. And but you did a good job. That's what you do. You ought to be good at it by now. So I've been telling you for a long time that you should be teaching, and certainly other people from San Francisco could benefit, but it might be complicated. But I still think you could hold a class a little bit like a intermediate class, let's say. And if you need anything, just tell them that I was the one that suggested that you do it, so I'm authorizing you to do it. Because they always want to have something. Then we'll have to find a stamp or something to give you a stamp that says that you can teach. But I think they would really benefit from you. You've been with me. I don't know how long you've been with me now, but it's been a long time, and your progress is very incredible. You know, I've got good students. Thank you guys. I really have very good students, and you're so amazing and so faithful and so much, trusting and have faith in all of this. And I look at you and I see, how you progress through all of this, and I look at the young pups, like Jake and Shloka, and I see that the Dharma is in good hands in the future. There's so many of you that are, and if I didn't mention your name, forgive me, but it's just all of you are just really incredible practitioners. And I always tell people wherever I go, I'll put my students up, take the Pepsi challenge, because it's not that you guys are like can win the spelling bee in Sanskrit or anything. It is that you demonstrate it. That's the part that's so important, is demonstrating. So Rosalind, with you, just demonstrate. Little by little you'll learn the Dharma, but right now just be the Dharma. Okay. And that's what I see here is so incredible with the people that are listening here. So I'm very humbled. So thank you very much, Robert, for that. And yeah, just keep doing that. The more you do it, the other people will listen to you. You see?
Yeah. I find it quite easy to share your teaching in a Chinese study group. Somehow it's translating the English version of what you led us to learn and to practice. I translate it into the Chinese version. It's become very, very easy for them to absorb. Yeah.
Yeah, just follow your heart. It'll work good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, no, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to touch on in these Six Paramitas, but I knew I had to talk about it. And I'm still working on it. I'm playing it like a Rubik's cube, and the more you play with it, the deeper it actually gets. And so I don't think I've even come close to mining the deep wisdom out of the perfection of the practices. That all it does is just begin to lock into other little parts of the Dharma, which is very, very amazing. So I'm very happy to share that with you. Okay, we will connect again next week. I'm going to be in town, so that's good. Yes, Letty, I didn't see you here. I was looking for you. I know. You're not getting any younger, although you look good. So I've been teaching Letty for I think 50 years by now. So it seems. But anyway, probably not too far from it, but she looks like the same as when she walked in. She was one of my youngest and earliest students, so it's good. Okay, we'll see you. Thank you all for tuning in. Tell people to tune in too. I think Mina was here. Mina, don't fall off any cliff. Don't get too close. Don't start balancing on things. So
I'm good. I was careful.
You look like you got sun.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay, you guys. See you later.